All right, everyone, a fairly important political update. Ron DeSantis has effectively ceded the state of New Hampshire. Yes, he is no longer there. He's moving straight on to South Carolina and effectively skipping New Hampshire. I think he looked at the polling. He looked at the Iowa results. His internal polling probably matches up more or less with the couple polls that we've got for New Hampshire, and he said, look, I'll be lucky if I'm in the low double-digit range. That's probably the best I can hope for. I've lost. I'm clearly going to come in third there, and my campaign will not be able to plausibly survive unless I pick up another second-place win somewhere else. The problem is that while Nikki Haley is not unedgeable in South Carolina for second place, it's possible, especially if you had a surge at the last minute like you had in Iowa. In polling, DeSantis is quite a bit behind her, but it's not insurmountable. It's not like Trump's 35-point lead over Nikki Haley. She's going to take second New Hampshire. That's going to give her a boost, potentially. Plausibly, she stays in. I think that as long as both of them are in, this race is fundamentally over anyway. I expect Trump to win New Hampshire. People will talk about Nikki Haley's finishing close, even if she's 20 points behind at the end. But DeSantis doesn't have a path forward there. What he's hoping is to lock in second place in South Carolina and then tell people, look, we need to clear the field, and it'll be between, depending on the results in those two states especially, in Nevada, eventually, one of them will drop. The other one will be the one that remains in as the backup candidate, basically. Well, Donald could die, Donald could get brokered conventioned, Donald, could end up in a jail cell, and somehow this magically erases his lead. I don't think that it would work. And then therefore, if you have just one candidate going forward, they would hope that Trump is stopped by legal persecution or health problems or something, and they're there. DeSantis and Haley, though, as long as both remain in, they just can't function. There's no way for either of them to pick up any first-place gains because presumptively they're draining some votes from each other. Now, let's say DeSantis drops out. His campaign doesn't have a lot of money. It's much more slim than it was before, and now he's literally skipping a state, effectively admitting defeat there. He could drop out. If he does, by the way, I would expect him to endorse Donald Trump. And by the way, it would probably, that'd put him up to 75, 80 points probably nationally. There's nobody else in the field anymore. Christie's gone. Ramaswamy's gone. Asa Hutchinson, who cares, is gone. And so it's basically Trump's to lose. But it's rather telling that he comes in a fairly decent second in Iowa. He edges out Haley. The polls didn't expect him to. He gained 5.5 points over the aggregate, which I predicted would happen. For second, he came in second in Iowa. Not third, second. But he looked at the polling and said, I'm not going to get a boost from this because the demographics in New Hampshire just are terrible for my kind of campaign. I suspect Trump wins by 15 points in New Hampshire. Riding somewhere in the upper 40s. He appears to be around 50 in the last two polls that have been conducted. He's at or above 50. I think he comes in slightly shy of that. Haley's in the 30s somewhere. DeSantis gets some votes. There's some votes for other. There'll be some people that already voted for Chris Christie or whatever, and then Trump runs the field. Here's the problem, though. The strategy of South Carolina, where you're, again, already in third, even though it is closer than in New Hampshire, doesn't make a lot of sense, because if Haley wins second place in New Hampshire, again, she then puts forth, hey, I'm the plausible other candidate other than Trump. Ron, you need to get out. And then he's looking to get clobbered in South Carolina, where Nikki Haley, it's her home state. She's got a bigger ground game than he can possibly foment in that state. He did everything he could in Iowa. It wasn't enough. It was just enough to get past Nikki Haley, with Nikki Haley recently rising slightly in the polls. Again, I don't think it's enough to challenge Trump, but it's certainly enough to keep DeSantis out of second place. If he goes into South Carolina and does come in third, and I suspect that he will, we'll see what happens in the polls after New Hampshire votes. You get a few weeks until South Carolina. I suspect that he'll drop out then. And Nikki Haley will probably stay in. She'll ramble about Trump on Super Tuesday. He'll win every state on Super Tuesday, and then I think that the race it's over. Basically, after New Hampshire, it'll be over, but neither of these candidates seem intent on actually acknowledging that. Again, that's because they want to be waiting in the wings in case some sort of shenanigans happens. And they could be right. In the end, Trump could be denied the Republican nomination. It's just that whether it's DeSantis or Haley, they will lose. MAGA will quickly abandon the party. They'll say, fuck it. If we're not going to get our candidate that we've all, 100 million people have already voted for over time, and tens of millions will vote in the primaries, if we can't have the candidate that we want, and it's Nikki Haley the neocon, or it's Ron DeSantis MAGA minus Trump, I think that they'll hemorrhage support. You'd hemorrhage more with Haley than with Ron DeSantis. A lot of Trump fans would begrudgingly vote for DeSantis, I think. I don't know how many of them would vote for Nikki Haley. You'd have to do a Project Fear thing against Joe Biden, say, well, look at all the fuck-ups Biden's made, and then people like us will have to say, yeah, well, look at all the fuck-ups for Nikki Haley. No, I do not want Nikki Haley to be the first female president because she does the girl boss thing. It doesn't sound like a standard Republican platform beyond like the Bush Republican thing. Well, Bush was never a conservative. McCain was never conservative. Big corporate spending, a lot of buddy pat one another on the back, nepotism, warmongering, no real attempt to reevaluate the tax code. Where's the conservatism? Certainly, where's the populism? Bombing people in third world countries. Yeah, that's America first. Yay, it's worked so well for us over the last half century, by the way. Now, it doesn't work, and Nikki Haley is the biggest champion of this election cycle of that basic policy. I would rather just go with Biden at that point and say, well, better the devil you know, number one. Number two, he could croak, and that would cause chaos, and it would be hilarious to see Kamala Harris trying to president. At least there's a humor factor. You don't get much of that with Nikki Haley unless she's making a gaffe or she's insulting a reporter who just asked her a fair question or something like that. Nikki Haley's nuts. But DeSantis is effectively handing her second place uncontested. His votes in New Hampshire probably then go to Trump. If he's not going to contest the state, DeSantis fans, go ahead and hold the line in South Carolina, but you should probably cross over for Trump in New Hampshire, if only to stop Nikki Haley dead in her tracks. She comes in, distantly behind Trump in New Hampshire, maybe she'll have to reevaluate her campaign. Because right now it's running high on the she's electable platform. Well, if you can't win a goddamn state and looking forward to your own home state, DeSantis will be cloistering there, draining support from you potentially. Again, there's no reason for anyone else to remain in at that time. I'd rather that the other candidate be Ron DeSantis because, again, at least he has some selling points. Nikki Haley has absolutely none. So I wish him well in South Carolina. You're not going to win. But if you can edge Haley out there, which is feasible with a huge effort, yeah, that'd be funny. She comes in third in her own home state. She's toast. That's about all. Peace out.